right, Julie, at 6:30, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Certainly. Kara Caston. Here. Ken Dawson.
Here.
Christopher Espinoza.
Here.
April Finan.
Here.
Don Renner.
Here.
Michael Riskey.
Here.
Ryan Enright.
Here.
And Romina Papavera Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you very much.
All right, having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Hank, I'll turn it over to you for student perspectives.
All right, and I'll invite Courtney up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for everyone for joining us tonight. We have a lot of really cool things to showcase this evening. So our first up is our student perspectives, and I would like to call up Kathy McDonald. She is one of our sponsors of our new club called HOSA, Future Health Occupations. No. Professionals. Future, I cannot internalize this. Future Health Occupation Professionals. Future Health Professionals. Thank you. The kids will talk about it, and they will get it, and I will not. So I'd like to introduce Kathy, who will introduce our students of our new club this year.
You're welcome.
First of all, thank you for inviting our club to speak. I'm Kathy McDonald. I'm the certified school nurse at North High School. This past semester, the students, along with Mr. Hines, had started kind of creating this club, and this year it's like formally formed. It started in 1976 as a U.S. organization. It's now international. It's a student-led organization and recognized by the U.S. Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services. And its mission is to empower the future health professionals to become leaders in the global health community through education, collaboration, and experience. HOSA promotes career opportunities in the health industry and enhances delivery of quality health care to all people. So I would like to introduce these 4 students who are going to give you a little more information. I'll let you each introduce yourselves and then share more about the club.
Hello, my name is Kira Chaudhry. I'm a co-founder and co-president of this club.
I'm Chloe Lang.
I'm Ava Joseph. I'm a vice president and the parliamentarian of this club.
My name's Ava Langley, and I'm also a co-vice president of this club. And we're some of the leaders of Health Occupation Students of America, or HOSA, and we're here to tell you about this new club and what it contributes to our school and community.
Just let me know when you want me to advance your slides.
Next slide. So basically, our mission is to expose the students to like the variety of different healthcare careers, because there are so many of them. It is a very there's a very wide range of careers in the medical field, and we just want to shed light on all of them. So we also want to provide like volunteering opportunities, like service, participation in competitive events is a big part of HOSA. So basically you can compete online, and if you also qualify for state, you can go to like conventions that are held in different states across the country. There's also a support network that we want to collaborate and foster for students who, you know, are like-minded and they have similar interests in going to similar medical careers.
So some of the volunteering opportunities we've already done and are continuing to do is Fish Pantry Food Drive, which is a local food drive in Downers Grove that is currently low on food resources. So we are trying to work on a food drive, which I'll let Chloe go more into depth on our process for that. And one thing we've recently done for volunteering is blankets for pediatric cancer patients. For that, we also collaborated with a couple other clubs like Women in Leadership Forum. As for educational opportunities, we often have guest speakers come around, so sports medicine physicians, family practice, nurses, physical therapy, and this is all just to get our HOSA club members more oriented with their future careers.
Okay, so I'm going to talk more about our fish pantry food drive because that's what we're doing right now. We started it this week, and it's going to last for the next 2 weeks. So we're hoping to alleviate food and toiletry shortages during the cold seasons and giving the opportunity for our school community to make a difference in our local community. So we have some amazing volunteers helping work these food drive stations, and then also are given an opportunity for every student to donate some food. So it's a really good opportunity to make a difference in our community.
So another one of our educational opportunities is the competitions that are hosted. So right now, upcoming, we have a December 1st competition, which is online, where there's a huge variety of competitions that everyone can be a part of. So each individual student will choose one, and then from there, everyone has to take a multiple choice test online. And based on that, the top scorers get to advance to the next round, where it's more hands-on and demonstrated interest. So like if you were part of the CPR competition, you'd have to demonstrate CPR knowledge. Some of them require presentations, debates, speeches, a lot of things like that. And then the one thing that's really beneficial about these competitions is that there are scholarships involved. So I think most of these are for freshmen to seniors. And even though it's not necessary to do competitions to get the scholarships, it definitely opens up more of a variety. So there are certain scholarships specifically for each competition. For example, if you were interested in dentistry or family medicine, you could apply for those specific scholarships.
So we do have quite a few future plans for the future. Specifically our organization of larger scale initiatives, such as the food drive we've been talking about, and continuing our exposing our members to volunteer opportunities, such as one we did last year at a local senior living home. We brought art supplies, and they all got to work together with these. It's we're hoping to introduce more of those this year. We have discussed future field trip opportunities, specifically one to Midwestern University, and then the volunteer opportunities the shadowing opportunities that would come from that. And bringing in more guest speakers, our connections in the healthcare world, bringing them in to share their experiences, and also creating kind of like a digital resource library for students who are going to be in those competitions, so that they have resources to compete. Creating study groups for the competitions and the competitors. And with the competitions coming up, we would increase our meeting frequency probably to once a week. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. That's what we have.
Before you run away, there might be questions.
Oh, there definitely are. So I didn't hear any of you comment on what your interest in healthcare is and what you may be pursuing down the road. I'd like to hear about that.
So personally, I'm interested in becoming a physician. Not completely sure yet which kind, but right now I'm thinking of pediatrics or orthopedics.
I am hoping to go to physician assistant school, and I do know I want to work with kids, so in the pediatric world of healthcare.
Dentistry for me. I currently work as a dental assistant, and I really enjoy it, so I'm hoping to go to dental school.
So I don't really know exactly what I want to be when I grow up, but I'm planning on majoring in neuroscience or biopsychology or biology. It depends on what school I go to, and I hope to go to medical school. So.
Well, healthcare is a really important industry. My wife, my sister, my mother are all in healthcare, and even in this economy, if you look, the number one job growth out there is in healthcare. So I think that's pretty important. So I hope that all of you stick to it, and this club gives you the inspiration to pursue your dreams in that regard.
I'd like to commend you guys for your timing for the food drive. I mean, it's such a needed thing in our community, in our city right now. And for the next 2 weeks, for you guys to be taking the initiative and doing that is really fantastic. So thank you for all your efforts.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, student board member reports. Who'd like to go first?
Hi everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing well. We're about more than halfway through the semester, so that's kind of exciting. From the student perspective, there's been a lot of excitement across the building and across our community with athletics and activities. For instance, girls volleyball is competing at sectional semifinals tomorrow night at Lyons Township. Football has advanced to the second round of IHSA playoffs and will be competing at Glenbard West on Saturday. And boys and girls cross-country teams qualified for state this weekend, with boys' team in a strong contention for a state championship. As fall sports wrap up, winter sports are beginning, and there's just a lot of excitement among students and staff, honestly, and coaches too. Attendance and engagement. So recently we've seen a decline in attendance among some seniors, which the administration is working hard to combat that. Last week, morning interventions took place at both entrances. Students who were tardy at first period checked in with administrators and deans. These check-ins were designed to be supportive conversations. So overall, it's been a positive and proactive effort to support students in developing good habits and accountability. And I say like accountability in a capital A, like that's super important. Student accountability is what we've really been working on, especially as a board. So moving on to college and careers. So November 1st was the early action deadline for a lot of colleges. Students I feel like there's just a weight off everyone's shoulders when it comes to college applications and stuff. And the College Career Center is a great resource, especially for scholarship tracking and future pathways when it comes to secondary planning. I already know during Access, College and Career Center is coming in and showing seniors what scholarships are coming through, and just ways that you can save on the college admissions process. For the phone policy continues. What I've seen across several classes is phones have made their way out. So in several departments with the support of administration, these departments, especially the English department, is moving towards requiring students to store those phones in the assigned phone pouches. That's what I did in my English class today. Our English teacher gave us each number and we put them away. Did I feel like that minimized distractions? I think that's super important, just to minimize distractions. I think it was super positive today. I kind of saw them not making their way out. I keep seeing students with the book open and the phone in the middle of the book. I'm like, it's great. So I think it's super important that we're minimizing distractions and protecting that institutional line. I feel like when you draw the line in the sand, and then it just keeps getting closer and closer and closer. So everyone holding their ground is super supportive and having that follow through. There has been consequences handed out to my peers, to other students around me, and I think it's super important, especially from an administrative level, and that consistency along all 8 periods. On a positive note, the scanning is working in super well, and attendance errors are minimal, and it's easy to correct them with the attendance office. Overall, this year's been really great, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Romina. Again, like Ryan said, we're almost halfway through or more than halfway through the semester now, so everyone's pretty much in their routine. I've noticed that everyone's pretty accustomed to the phone policy. Again, I think that's really thanks to teachers having the tools required to kind of like immediately settle that situation down pretty quickly. And I think the consistency of the message throughout the building has truly impacted that. So for me, at least, phones have not been truly a factor in the classroom. With scanning, most students seem used to it. And last meeting, I did mention that I had noticed that my classes were getting sometimes interrupted by staff kind of checking in if a student was in class or not. But I have noticed a decrease in that. So I think that, again, has shown how everyone's used to it, and it's just working pretty well. The only thing that I do notice students complain about is the new bathroom policy. I think, again, we're still getting used to that. It's a pretty big change. And then sometimes, again, the pass system to like leave the building, students seem to sometimes be a little confused on how that's all working, and there seems to be a little confusion on that. For activities, today we had yearbook pictures. It was cool to see everyone that's involved in activities throughout the building. We also had the distribution of our first edition of the blueprint, which the board members have with them. And I know how much like hard work and dedication goes into that, so it's very exciting to see a final product. We also had a lot of sports events. We had like State for Tennis, Sectional for Girls Swim and Dive. We had the end of the boys soccer season, the end of the football season. We also have sectional semifinals for girls volleyball tomorrow against DGN. We also had boys and girls cross country qualify for state. So overall, like a lot of the fall sports are wrapping up, and winter sports, I know some trials started today, so that's also something going on in the building. Last week, we also had our trunk or treat, which is always very fun. I was able to go with Key Club and just like walk around, and it's always very exciting to kind of like see the community and just be able to be engaged and kind of have a break from the academics and something a little more fun. And then other upcoming activities that are very big for both schools are Snowball, which is next week, which I know a lot of students love and are very involved in, and also the Grove Express, which is also a great event for everyone and the whole community. For access and support overall, I've noticed that there's been an initiative to kind of like motivate students to be in class and try their best. And I know the school has been implementing different things, such as the gold level access for seniors, and also celebrating Mustang Scholars during access. That was very exciting and very fun for everyone. And I think, again, it's very good to inspire students to be there, especially some of year attendance can get a little harder. So I think it's great to motivate students. And then with support, again, the College and Career Center is always giving support to students, both seniors, with like scholarships, college applications, and also overall to any student that's planning their career, whether that be going to college or not. It's always, again, there's always a lot of support there. And there's also always Infinity Campus and Parent Square, which allows students and parents to like stay connected to the community. So overall, there's a lot of support for everyone in the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Romina.
Any questions?
Where's the volleyball game tomorrow? Is it tomorrow, you said?
Lions.
That's Lions Township, yeah.
Yeah,
Lions
at
Township,
7
yeah.
p.m. tomorrow.
I'll be there, so. Will you be there?
Romina, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So on the front of this very nicely done newspaper, there's a picture of students lining up to scan in.
Yeah.
And it seems like a pretty big line. Can you guys talk a little bit, Ryan, I would like to hear what's going on at North as well. Will you guys tell us a little bit about scanning in and how that's going, and if it's getting to be, are there really backups like this, or are things going smoothly?
I've only noticed this backup for resource.
Okay.
So that's something that we're still working on. There's no backup for like classes. That seems to be going pretty smoothly, but this is, again, because students have to wait until the bell rings and then they start scanning. So there is normally a line that builds up, especially for resource.
Okay, so this picture is not every day, every class occurrence?
No.
Okay.
There's barely any lines. I've noticed no lines in like classrooms or the main entrance.
Great.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the necessary like context of the picture, but overall, especially at the main entrance, there really hasn't been an issue with scanning in. I think obviously when the light changes at Main Street, it might get a little congested, but it would be for 30 seconds. Especially in classes, students are just most students are actually having a screenshot now, so they're not really relying on the app loading. So that was causing some delays in the building. But other than that, people are kind of getting used to it, and there really hasn't been any lines.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions for either of us?
Thank you both. Our students that came and presented tonight, I don't know if they stuck around, but they're welcome to go at this point, so if they haven't already. They already left. They're good students, they know. Just wanted them to know that they didn't have to stick around. All right, I'd like to invite the Ed Foundation, representatives of the Education Foundation forward.
I'm so short. We're very, very happy, thank you. Happy to be here. May I just take this off? There we go, thank you. Very happy to be here. It's always good for me to be back in the boardroom. I'm Julia Beckman. I have the honor of being the president of the foundation. And we are very happy tonight to be here to celebrate some of the grants that we have given in the past few months. And I'm going to introduce, as you already know her, Donna Dawson, who is our grants chair. And we have some very, very exciting grants to talk about. So take it away, Donna.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Dawson. And first of all, thanks, everyone, for, you said turn the mic up? Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Again, we appreciate your time for us to be able to come here and recognize our leaders. Last spring in 2025, we awarded $9,500 in grants. It was about 6 grants that we supported across the district. Tonight, we are excited to present 2 of the projects and celebrate these incredible educators that made this happen. So first of all, we have from Downers Grove North, our CSS department. So come on up here, don't be scared, I'm right. We have Caitlin,
Panky,
thank you.
I can handle panic though as a counselor.
You're trained.
And I'm going to stick with first names. And we have Ashley. And what I'm going to do is have Caitlin and Ashley share a little bit about the project that we awarded the $1,600 grant for.
Sure. Sure. I got the grant provided me to go to Columbus, Ohio this summer to do a 3-day training to get certified to teach this ROCKS curriculum. It's a national program. They're in 48 states. It's evidence-based and data-based. So what's great about it is it's a 20-week curriculum program targeted for our young women to develop their leadership, confidence. We cover a lot of issues like body image and social media and the stress and pressure in college and career. And so Ashley is actually the one who brought it to our district because she was trained in it already. But we wanted to widen the net and offer it to more students as an intervention opportunity. So I was fortunate enough to be the one to go and get certified. What Ashley handed out to you is just a little one-pager about the organization and some of the data and what it targets and how it supports our female students.
Yeah, of course.
Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, sorry, I was kind of half listening while I tried not to trip and walk around and hand these to you. But ROCKS is something that I started doing when I was in grad school. I went to grad school at Ohio State, which is obviously where this started in Columbus. So I've tried to bring it with me wherever I go, and I definitely wanted to bring it here. I ran it last year with a group of 10 girls, and they are banging down my door trying to do it again. But we stick with sophomores, and we want to try to, expand it as they go. So we're not just repeating the same thing with the same girls. We try to do a different group each year. But as you can see from the data, it's an effective program. It's data-driven. So they collect data each year from all the girls who do it across the nation. And they'll adjust and adapt as social media changes, as things in our country change. And they'll, really try to keep it relevant and up to date for the girls. And I always tell the girls, we talk about real things. This isn't just let's share our feelings and, sit and yap about nothing. We're really getting into some things that are affecting girls in our society and in our school.
Beautiful. We would like to present with you your check.
What is a big check?
Your check.
As advertised.
We made a big check.
Big check. Big bucks. Big check.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for applying. And we'll take a photo afterwards.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
So you said this is year 2 of the program? You started it?
Yes, I ran it last year just myself, and so this year we're doing it together with yeah.
And can you just talk a little bit about, so you said it's focused on 10th graders, the size of the group, or how?
Yeah. We had 23 referrals this year. We invited all 23. 12 of them have committed the last 2 weeks to coming, so I think we're going to be at about 12, which is a nice size for also the space we're in. The other piece we didn't mention is that there's a parent component to it. So it's a very, a lot of our intervention groups are very student targeted, but the parents are getting the information as well. There's the book that the girls get, the parents get. There's news memos and leadership and opportunities for us to connect with them. So it's more comprehensive. Last year it was run during as an access group, which it is shortened. The time gets crunched. You lose on some curriculum, and so this year we advocated to run it as a regular group would, where we rotate periods throughout the year. And already we can see the difference in that and the effectiveness and the bonding of the girls. So, yeah.
All right. You said the girls are referred to you?
Yes. Yeah. So we ask our CSSS staff, we ask for referrals based on their knowledge of students. We have a broad range of girls. Not everyone needs to develop every aspect of what we're working on because you want, some leaders, some quieter kids to step up. So they're referred based on the criteria, and then we met with them and interview them and introduce them and invite them, and they say yes.
Currently, are you seeing any trends in the particular challenges which our young people are having in today's world?
I would say the biggest thing is social media and how that's impacting, their body image or how they're supposed to act, whether that's in friendships or romantic relationships. Or we spent a lot of time last week talking about parents' perceptions of them and how that, I think we posed the question, do your parents think they were more stressed out than you are? So that caused a big conversation. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just kind of what they're going through now and how that could be similar or different. And they had some really good insights even too about, well, maybe they did. Maybe there were some things that were more challenging for our parents. And so, yeah, we do a lot about social media. That's obviously a big part of their life.
Yeah, and it's a space where they're talking about these things that permeate into other aspects of their life, but they don't really get a chance to process. So, especially with the confidence, when we were asking about, are you capable of doing your dream job? And they underestimate themselves more so than they should. And so we break that down too. So I think that, to answer your questions, all of it.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot, which is why it's such a comprehensive program. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
As a father of 3 young girls, I'm very appreciative of all the efforts that you're talking about here. Some of my daughters struggle with confidence, and it has a real impact on how they respond to social pressures like you're talking about. So this is really important stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, just as the father of 2 girls. It's something in the water, I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you. That's for providing that space that they can, with like-minded, confident women like you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Happy to do so. Thank you for the support. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then our second grant comes out of Downer South from our World Language Department, front row seats. Michelle, Diane, and PJ, and their project was called Enhancing Teacher Feedback with Supplemental Technology. And we granted them $2,000 to purchase 4 Apple iPads, the stylus, and also protective cases. I'm going to let the group come up and talk about this particular grant.
We have slides.
Do you want me to advance, or do you want to run the clicker? Either choice. Or you can just say go.
We can say go.
Good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight. Alicia here was a first-year teacher here at South with us last year, and over the course of the school year, we saw her using an iPad frequently in her classroom and in the office, and it wasn't just doodling and watching YouTube or anything like that. And of course, in my inquisitive nature, some might say nosy, but Diana and I had asked, what is it that you're doing with your iPad? Would you mind clicking to the next slide, please? And so Alicia had shared with us that there are a number of apps in particular that are only available on Apple devices which really limits our Microsoft devices that we use throughout the district. And a lot of these apps, well, one app in particular allows for handwritten notes, importing PDFs, and audio recording synced to notes, and allowing us to provide direct feedback in a manner that is different than pencil and paper. Next, please. And one app in particular, this one app, Notability, is what Alicia had been using and providing her students with amazing feedback. And it just snowballed into a conversation of how can we do this? How can we use this? And obviously we got to a point of we don't have the funding ourselves. Alicia was using her own personal iPad, and in talking to our tech department and our AP in charge of tech, we realized that we needed to get our own iPads in order to connect to the network, and then ultimately we're working towards connecting to our projectors so we could write directly on the iPads and students can actually see what it is that we're working on directly in the same way as if this was our classroom. So I'm going to allow Alicia and Diana to continue and share their experience.
So I've just started diving into what we can do, but I have some student examples from 2 of the levels that I teach. So in 3 honors, they have to, we were talking about superstitions, and then they have to create their own stories. And so I was not there that day. I was with my son at a doctor's appointment and gave them everything, and they turned them in. And as they were turning them in the doctor's office, I was able, in my iPad, to immediately take them and start making the corrections and giving them immediate feedback. And so just circling things, and the nice thing is that it makes a copy for them. Next slide, please. And this is just another one. So I can, with some of them, I got a little bit more and did a little bit more grammar, and with others, I just circled, but it was just giving them that feedback, and then it edits a copy for them, and then they were able to see it right away. And now when we do our next writing, they have this that they can go to, take a look at it, see what mistakes they've made, and then make sure that those mistakes don't happen in the next one. Next slide, please. So then for level 1, obviously they're still, learning how to write. And this was all through Google Classroom. So I was able to access Google Classroom app through the iPad. And then here I had students take a screenshot of their paperwork that they created, and then they turned it in through Google Classroom. And then I was able to just immediately go through and make the corrections. So then, again, they have that. And it's nice because it saves it for them. And a lot of times in the past when I was like, take out that paper that we did, there was a lot of kids that were like, I recycled that, or I don't have it anymore. So this saves it for them. So whenever we need to go back, it's right there at their fingertips. And they have it. So far I've been really happy, but I know there's so many other things that we can do with it.
Okay, so here we're talking about 2 separate components. First, we have giving feedback to the students, grading their work and giving them that feedback, and then we also have the instructional delivery piece, which are 2 separate components. Through the use of Google Classroom, I assign the students a homework assignment once a week that is collected and where I give them that personalized feedback. So I'm able to give them that feedback through grading that assignment on my iPad in Google Classroom. If you go to the next slide, you will see an example. So there, for example, on the right side, you have a homework assignment that I gave the students. I make them write their work on paper because it's language, and I want to make sure that I can give them that specific feedback that they need so they can see what they need to work on for the following assignment, or so they can show growth. So I make the students take a picture of that assignment that they write on their paper, as you can see on the right side right there, and then I go ahead and grade it on my iPad. I'll open that assignment in the iPad Google Classroom, and then just edit it and give them that feedback as on paper. On the left side, you can see another sample. This is from one of my colleagues that she was sharing how she has to grade essays for the students. So then she has to print every single copy of those essays and then grade it manually and then, complete that rubric. But then I showed her this other option that she could do if she had an iPad, that she could save all that paper and, and be able to give the students that personalized feedback. And it's something that the students can retain with them forever because it's there, it's not going anywhere, it's in Google Classroom. Plus, in addition to that, the student is not only getting that specific feedback that they need to grow on or to work on as they can progress in the semester, but also the parents at home. You can ask your child to open up their Chromebooks and go to Google Classroom and show to you whatever assignments they have completed, and there is that record right in there. So you can check, from the day one of the semester, whatever assignments are graded in there, all the way to the end of the semester, and you can see that growth for your students at home, and you're able to actually help them in something that they might need help if you can help them, or you can see that progression throughout the semester. So this is the grading piece that I am so excited to, be grading this way, because I just see the change and the transformation in the students throughout the semester. And if you go to the next slide, you see another example. For example, on the left one, you have that one homework homework number 3. So you see the simple sentences that they're writing, and then how I'm able to write all this specific feedback that student needs at that moment in the lesson. And then on the right side, you see the growth, how much they have progressed from one week to the other week in the writing patterns in Spanish. This is a Spanish level 2. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see somebody this is like a week 5, for example, in the units. That's a lot of Spanish to be writing in a level 2, and they're able to come up with all that based on that personalized feedback that they're getting, that they're able to check, whenever they need to. So that's, once again, the grading piece and giving them that personalized feedback in order to focus on some specific skills that they need to work on when it comes to putting sentences together and writing to communicate. But then on the other hand, if you go to the next slide, you can see the current way that we display on the left side, the current way that we display or we teach the students in the class through the Elmo, this camera thing that projects to the screen, the projector. So the teacher has to be sitting on the desk in order to be able to use this Elmo and write, for example, answers or explain something to the class. But then on the other hand, if they had access to an iPad and Notability, the teacher could be walking around the classroom, be next to the students, be able to write on the iPad with different colors, to make it more appealing to the students, and even open up a little text box like I did right there on the right side bottom. You see that little text box? I opened up on the spot right there and was able to, write it as if I was writing on the board and make it more appealing to them, to help them stay more engaged, more focused, and be able to actually follow along with the whole class, a lesson that they needed, a specific component of the lesson that they needed to be taught in a way that they made sense to them, and in a way that I could also use this little thing that I can, it looks like a little light that I can I forget what that thing is called, but that thing, the pointer, yes. So the students can guide along and follow me along. But right now, we don't have that kind of a connection, but we're working on that. So if that was a possibility, I mean, it's having access to this is limitless, and it will make just teaching so much more engaging and more, I wouldn't have to be stuck at a desk. I could walk around, help the students, and be able to teach them anywhere from the classroom, for example. If you go to this one was a grammar lesson, but on the next one you can see, like, for example, a reading to help the students, guide them along a reading and read it out loud, for example, or just, select specific components. I'm able to highlight specific parts of the reading, make notes, annotate it, edit it, do whatever you can imagine you can do on this Notability app on the iPad. So this is just something to look forward, something that we are working on to be able to project from the iPad connected to the projector and be able to make teaching more engaging and more appealing to the students at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. Do you have any questions for us?
I have one. Is the applicability more for kind of more entry levels of the language where you're noting, like, would this be used as much in more advanced languages?
You can use this at in any classroom, in any subject, any level. It just makes it easier to explain anything. Instead of giving your back to the students and being writing on the board, now you can write it right here in front of them. And whatever you put on your iPad on this app, they can see. Whatever you can think of presenting to them, you can just do it looking at them face to face, and you can just be writing it. Or you can be talking to a student one-on-one and showing it to them right there while the whole class is looking at it, and they can follow along. So it can help in the learning curve when it comes to learning any subject, anything, at any point in any lesson.
I think this is fantastic. You're able to provide personalized feedback in such a timely manner, because I would think it's critical, if you can, to engage with the student and, give them that feedback and stay engaged before they've moved on to another class or another. This is the future of teaching, really.
And my previous district, they were, I guess, an Apple school, but you don't necessarily have to be an Apple school to be able to connect an iPad to a projector and be able to provide this type of delivery in the classroom.
How are the students receiving it? Do they really like it?
They like it. They're doing amazing. I mean, as you saw in those samples, in a Spanish 2, I mean, you make the feedback as personalized as possible instead of talking to the student, because sometimes we can't talk to each student one-on-one. So then you just write it there for them, give them specific goals to focus on, and then build upon that as the unit progresses. And they take it and they just, apply it and show growth on the next lesson right away.
And I think that they can go back and find it.
Yes.
And so that they can find it and they can see their mistakes and then make sure that they're correcting it for the next one. So they know where everything is. It just keeps everything organized.
It's an organized record pretty much of their work in the class. So another thing that I didn't mention is that I make my students take a picture of the homework assignments or whatever work and just turn it in that way. But for anybody that has their students type up like an essay or whatever it is, whatever document it is, as long as they turn it in Google Classroom, you can open it up on your iPad, and then with the stylus, you're able to edit it and just write the comments instead of typing in the comments. When you type in the comments, not every student can see those comments, which is something that I experienced at my other school.
It takes forever.
And it takes forever to load up, and it's just sometimes it's hidden, they can't find it, and this way, it creates like a copy of their actual original document, so it has the original copy, and then the edited copy with the notes and the comments. And I mean, for parents, when we had open house and parent-teacher conferences, I made sure that the parents knew that, hey, this is what I am doing. So I want to make sure that you go home and ask your student to show you the work that they have done in class, and you can follow along with them to see where they're at in the lesson and what they need help with. So you can have that, once again, see that personalized feedback the students are getting from me, and then that way you know what your child needs to work on so they can raise their grade, for example, if there's a specific grade they want their kid to get in the class.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is great. Just the ability to keep record for the students, to go back and look at it. That's an invaluable resource that they have in their future classes if they're in Spanish 2 to 3 and et cetera. And I think anything to make your lives easier as educators is fantastic. So thank you so much for bringing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then your check.
Another big check. Thank you all for being here this evening and
So
presenting.
thank you again. We appreciate your support.
Thank you, Foundation.
Thank you.
Last word.
Oh.
Two last words, actually. I neglected to introduce Steve Ruffalo, who is a board member of ours, and some of you may recognize him, because we tend to get teachers to retire and come on our board. It's really exciting. And I thought this was a good time when you see all the wonderful things that we do with the money we raise. It's money from people like you and other people, and we are sending out a letter, our annual appeal. If you get one in the mail, that would be fabulous if you would respond to it. And you can go to the District 99 Foundation website and just click donate, or you can send a check to this office. So I would love it if you could support it, because 90% of the money we collect goes to students, teachers, and families. We're very proud of that record. Thank you so much for having us come. We'll be back in the spring.
Thank you, Education Foundation. Continuing the theme this evening, we're moving on to innovative staff brought forward by our principals. And I can't remember who's up first. Oh, we're South first.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just speak for both Courtney and I. We were really excited to be provided with this opportunity for the board to showcase the innovative things that we see in classrooms, honestly, nearly every day. This is the time of year when we're in classrooms all the time, and wonderful, wonderful things are happening. I'm really excited to highlight the work of building thinking classrooms, which our two teachers will talk about. But we have been embracing this specifically in our math and science classes at Downers Grove South, and it really is transforming learning. The quick analogy that I'll give you is, I think we all know that if you're learning how to, say, ride a bike, that you are not, no one would ever raise their hand and think that, like, watching a teacher ride the bike would be a good way to learn how to ride the bike, or reading about how to ride a bike would not be a good way to ride a bike. You actually have to practice, the act of practicing. And that's what building thinking classrooms does, from both a physical and intellectual way. So I'm going to turn it over to both Lisa Olson and Mary Beth Senser, who Mary Beth is a science teacher, Lisa's a math teacher, and they're both piloting this work in their classes. So I'm excited to introduce you to now.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Senser, and I teach physics at DGS.
Lisa Olson, and I teach pre-calculus and math 3S.
Next slide, please. So this is Building Thinking Classrooms based on the work of Peter Liljedahl from his book. And if we go to the why of why we started this work to begin with, if you look at a traditional old school, like math or science class, you have students sitting at desks, problem solving on paper. And the dream of a math or a science teacher is we want the students to be thinking deeply about the concepts and why do they work the way they are, and how do they use those concepts as tools to solve problems. That's the dream, right? But if you actually interrogate the students as to what they're thinking when they're sitting there at a desk with paper in front of them, that's the pie chart that you get. So you do have some of them in that tried it column, or the tried it slice of the pie, but more than half of the students are really just mindlessly mimicking the steps that they observe the teacher doing without trying to understand why it works that way. So in comes building thinking classrooms. How can we get as many students as possible into that tried it slice of the pie?
So the idea is to get them out of their seats. We go vertical. These are two pictures from the science lab, and they're spread out. They have rolling carts as well that helps them out. The idea is to go vertical, to be standing, to be talking, and one marker per each group, and erasable so they can erase if they make mistakes, fix it with each other. And again, the one marker thing for me for math is so that they're talking with each other, they're processing it together, and going from there. The next slide, that's my classroom. I redesigned the boards. I got some ribbon and some magnets, so I have 11 possible positions to make smaller groups, because there's the research that shows, and I noticed in the spring when I had bigger groups, they weren't all talking. This lets them talk more, and then I randomize them too, that we'll talk about in another slide.
So some of our takeaways, you can go ahead and just click through to bring them up. It used to be we'd have the day where the students would solve the problems, and then a day or two where we would go over their solutions and have them discuss. Those things are now happening simultaneously in real time, so we get through as much or more content in less time. We also find that whereas previously when we had, okay, this group's going to present problem 1 and this group's presenting problem 2, they were just sitting there waiting for their turn to present and weren't as fully engaged in the other problems. Now every student is fully engaged in every single problem along the way. It also focuses a lot on the conceptual nature. Instead of having students take a finished product from their paper and present the finished product to the class, they're all seeing every single step of the way unfolding around them. They're seeing the mistakes as they're happening, which is hugely important. It is not a polished, finished product that's being presented to the class. We're also giving them feedback not only on their solution, but, oh, look, they labeled their steps here, or they used color coding there so that we could tell what they were doing. Giving them constant feedback and positive reinforcement for the way that they are communicating their ideas. Even when I go to grade a test now, it's so much clearer to follow what they're doing. I can give them more partial credit because they're showing their work better because we're giving them feedback. We're teaching them how to show their work well. Reduced fear of failure. As I mentioned, they're seeing the mistakes happening instead of sitting there being like, oh my gosh, all of these presentations, they're getting the questions right, but I got them all wrong on the first try. Guess what? Everybody gets them wrong on the first try. That's okay. It's normal. The students gave that feedback to me when I asked them at their end of year survey last year that this was very impactful to them. I also want to mention I teach a physics for beginning English learners class that I'm very excited about. We're providing science opportunities for our beginning English learners. And collaboration is a vital part of the science curriculum. But if you are just beginning to learn English, how do you collaborate? I mean, for fluent English speakers, it's hard to explain your reasoning of why did I solve my physics problem that way. So what the heck do you do if you're just learning English? But I've noticed that when I get them standing up at the whiteboards, they are able to have real-time collaboration and building off of each other's ideas because you don't have to be able to speak English to be able to draw a force diagram or a velocity versus time graph and work off of each other's ideas that way, which is a really cool, unique application of that. Do you want to add about the Flipperty?
Yeah, I use Flipperty to put their names in, and I can make all different types of groups, 11 groups or 7 groups, bigger groups, smaller groups, and then it's randomized, and I click it like 3 times, 4 times, so they know that I'm not purposely putting them with certain kids, so they have a variety, and they get to work sometimes with their friends and sometimes with people they're getting to know, and I just love the variety. So it's never the same groups, and it's not pre-assigned at all, and I think they like that. It's part of the research in the book that he talks about, that random groups are good for them. For me, I love this because there's times where, okay, they're not getting this concept, it's something from our prereq skill. All right, let's go up to the boards and try this. And I make stuff up at the last minute as I need to, so it's not something I have to always pre-plan, which is great. So you are able to create what you need to help them learn. Honestly, I just graded a test in pre-calculus, and the problems that they have had issues with in the past, I kept reviewing using the whiteboards. They did so much better. It was so nice. It was so easy to grade that test this year. It really made an impact. Questions?
I think it's so fantastic to see you guys utilizing those whiteboards, because as we know, the whiteboard started with a grant that you received. And now it has, and now it has just expanded, and it's being used more and more, and it makes educating easier and more effective. That's just fantastic. And with your creativity, it's really awesome to see the application of it on a daily basis.
Yes, without the boards, there's no way I could do it in my room. We needed that whole wall and that other wall, so thank you.
It's infectious too. There's more, so like the chemistry team is starting to adopt this. We've got crosstown, some of the other physics classrooms, we're working together collaboratively with the rest of the physics team. So yeah, it's only going further.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, this is great. As a former District 99 student who suffered with sitting in one place and working through all those problems, being able to get up and use the whiteboards, that's got to be really fantastic for all the kids. So thank you for implementing that and seeing the measured outcomes of it. I think that's fantastic.
As a former mathlete, I only imagine how many more ribbons I could have possibly won. No, this is, yeah, well, first of all, let me say, I get excited by your excitement, that's cool to see that. You guys, that's awesome, first of all, my first observation. And then, yeah, just the teach, and you alluded to it, I think it's more than just teaching the topic, it's the collaboration, the critical thinking, the teamwork and everything. Yeah, so that's fabulous. I wish I could have the opportunity to. I probably wouldn't have to do as well as they did back then. But no, this is great. I appreciate this. This is very exciting. I'm glad you're excited about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's easy to just do what you've always done. And when you challenge yourselves and try to innovate with the fundamental purpose of trying to make a better experience for your students, I think you're model examples of what teachers should be in our districts. And I'm really proud of both of you. Thank you.
I just want to add to that from the student perspective. Last year, we did building thinking classrooms. I was in Math 3, and it was so beneficial. At first, it was really difficult kind of getting up there and kind of trying to figure it out on your own. But I feel like there's something to be said about that failure. And I think it's really interesting because when I was going through the study guide at the end, I was like, oh, I remember I failed on this. Now I know how to do it. And I don't know if you guys do the same. We have the cards. So, like, I don't know how you, so you pass out the cards, and then they're randomized groups. So it's kind of the same thing. And you said that everything was temporary on the board. And then at the end, we did like a review sheet, and everything that was on that review sheet was what we took away from what we did on the boards, that temporary idea. So I just want to say that that implementation is great. Did it last year. We're doing it this year. It's been great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So continuing on with our innovative staff members, I'm really excited to introduce to you two of our staff members who combine our efforts of our certified staff and our SSA staff. And this year, these two lovely women took some time on Institute Day and worked with our SSA staff on some things that they're going to talk about. But I would like to introduce you to Rebecca Manjares and again, Kathy McDonald. So please do a double duty.
My name is Rebecca Manjares, and I work as the physical therapist for District 99. I have the privilege of working in all three buildings each week. I work closely with our paraprofessional educators, classroom teachers, case managers, and our students, and to help our students overcome the physical barriers in order to access their school environment. Additionally, my role is to keep our students and our staff safe. I take this role very seriously. I have specialized knowledge in how the body moves. This knowledge feeds my daily work in the district as I support our students and our staff. Because our paraprofessionals do a great job of filling in where needed, they have to be ready for anything. Sometimes that means lending a hand in our multi-needs classrooms when this is not their typical placement. I found myself reviewing things frequently, retraining as we had staff changes, and just repeating myself a lot. I also had feedback from our staff members saying that they wanted to know more, and they wanted to understand more, and they continued to have questions. So this summer, I prepared a presentation to provide an introductory training for our paraprofessionals. The goal was to equip us with common vocabulary, introduce the devices and the supports that we use for our students with highly individualized needs. Also to introduce safe wheelchair transportation setup and introduce emergency procedures for our highly dependent students. I welcome the opportunity to expound on these topics in the future and to provide staff support to promote confidence and maintain safety for our staff and our students. This all came about because I was hearing feedback from our staff, because I was also given the opportunity to be heard, and because our superiors listened. Thank you to Joy Burtnett, Special Services Department Chair at North, for listening and getting the ball rolling. Thank you also to Ken Sorensen, Associate Principal at North, for setting everything up, for getting the time figured out, the space and the tech figured out for us. And thank you to the team for giving us that time during the Institute days. It was really helpful and special to have the whole district together, because additionally I'd asked Kathy McDonald to share the opportunity with me. So also thank you, Kathy, for your medical insight.
So again, I'm Kathy McDonald. I'm the school nurse at North. As Rebecca mentioned, this past August I had the opportunity to teach paraprofessionals on some health needs, emergency care, and things of that nature with students. I think this training was especially meaningful because paraprofessionals are often the first people to notice when something is wrong with a student. At DGN, we serve students with a wide range of medical conditions, including seizure disorders, anaphylactic food allergies, severe asthma, diabetes, and other acute or chronic conditions. In emergencies, a quick and informed response is critical, and in a large school building, I simply can't be there everywhere at the same time. So I think thanks to this training, our paraprofessionals are better prepared to recognize signs of a medical emergency and respond appropriately. And I valued the chance to connect more closely with them. My hope is this collaboration leads to stronger coordination of care for our students moving forward. I'd also like to thank Dr. Demet and Dr. Sorensen for the opportunity. Any questions?
This all came out of your ideas on Institute Day, is that right?
Yeah, through the past 2 years that I've been here in the district, the paras will come up with questions and they just wanted the opportunity to learn more. So I had seen that as a theme between all 3 buildings because I am really special that I get to go to all 3 buildings and I love that opportunity. So I had seen those common themes and then I was able to bring that up the chain and up the chain listened. So it was nice to see everything work.
Like the paraprofessionals' questions about lots of medical situations and like kind of like errors in thinking that I was seeing with some of them kind of guided the topics that I wanted to teach them about.
Was the training for everyone at the Institute Day, or did you focus it on the
It was for paraprofessionals.
Just focus on paraprofessionals?
And we had all paras in the district, so all 3 buildings don't usually have an opportunity to be together very often. That's just the nature of the schedules and stuff like that. So it was really nice to have that opportunity for everybody to be together.
Oh, that's great.
Is that Institute Day training going to be an ongoing thing every year?
I hope so. I'm up for it. They found time to be able to put it in the schedule this year. I know it's a big puzzle piece that you guys all put together. But yes, I will sign myself up. I will do it again next year.
I think it would be beneficial to survey them too on particular like health conditions that they see that maybe they would like some help with.
I'm glad you raised the point about the collaboration between boots on the ground and the administrative team within the buildings. That cooperation is super important, and that's what is going to make the facility and the district as a whole stronger. So
Yeah, and I wanted to point that out to you guys, that it worked.
that's
So
great.
thank you.
That's really good to hear. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shout out to Rebecca's family for being here tonight. Thank you. You were so good. All right, and last but not least, I'd like to introduce Caitlin Schaefer. I had the absolute privilege of being a part of what she's going to talk about tonight, and I just cannot explain to you how impressed I was with what the kids did, and I wanted to show it off. So, and I want her to show it off. So, Caitlin, welcome. Caitlin is our fashion merchandising teacher, and she'll explain the project.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Caitlin. I teach at North. I teach culinary, interior design, fashion construction, and fashion merchandising. So this is a business meets fashion. And being a FACS teacher, I kind of put a different spin on it, more like fashion design, and then also the marketing aspect. So I told Dr. Dement that this came to me in a dream, quite literally. I'm being dead serious. And I had seen, she really loved to wear, different types of shoes. So this was the second year that I did this project. And so I asked her, what's your shoe size? Kind of a weird question. So bought, just nude colored shoes. And this was kind of a bridge between our elements and principles of design unit and then going into target marketing. And so Dr. Dement came into our classroom. The students came up with, 20 questions or so. We kind of went around the room. They interviewed her, and they came up with all the questions. And then they went to work, just what she liked, what she didn't like. And so I had to bring all of them today. So this first group, and one more thing. There is a mystery item that they had to incorporate somewhere into the design. And this year I thought I did a Lego piece. And when I told them that, they're all like, what? Like, how are we ever going to accomplish this? And they did. So that's the fun part, is to see where's the Lego piece that they put in there. So this shoe was inspired by her previous shoe that she has that has like print ad all over it. So the students took the student newspaper and put it on the bottom. And they were very proud of the DGN's Feathery Friend as one of the titles on the bottom there. And then, you know, they talked about symmetry and balance, and when they were presenting to her, they tied in all of those things that we talked about. So that was kind of that cool moment, and I didn't even tell them they had to be part of it. But yeah, that was cool to see. The second group, this was Friday Night Lights, so cheerleader. And then they got cheerleaders to sign the bottom, and this is like a football, like the cleat, the spikes on the back. Wow. And they got football players to sign the bottom. This one's my favorite. I like that they got other students involved, and it was just very creative. This group, we were all amazed that the student quite literally watched a YouTube video and within 2 minutes was drawing all of these leopard prints on here, and everyone was amazed. Their Lego pieces on the back, they bedazzled that. And then, oops. This group, this is their Lego piece on the bottom, so this could never, ever be worn as an actual shoe. That would be a major tripping hazard. So they wanted to go with the Christian Louboutin shoes that Dr. Dement said she liked. And then leopard print is a neutral, so it goes with lots and lots of different options there. And then these students chose to go with an asymmetrical look. She said she liked bright colors, and so they incorporated rhinestones, and then butterflies signify a change, and so they incorporated that in their presentation as well. So the students really had a lot of fun with this. They collaborated, you know, just seeing them just be excited to come into class. You know, I teach elective classes, right? So they're super engaging, and, you know, I want them to have a great experience because I tell them, like, this is your, you know, like, exciting kind of relaxation of the day. We're still learning, but something like this, you know, I mean, it's really hard to recreate, and the products just speak for themselves, so thank you.
And the students are currently voting.
Oh, yes, and they were on display today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I cannot possibly pick one.
Yeah, she could not pick one, so we had everybody else vote in the school. So I have over 450 responses, so.
But you're going to wear the winners.
Well,
I don't want to break them, so
That's
my fear.
because some of the, yeah, like it might come off, yeah.
But
Or-
they're
yeah.
amazing. And I could, it's so hard to choose just one person to showcase because our teachers are doing really amazing things, but this was just really, really cool and became kind of a school thing. This is the second or third time, I think. Second time we've done this.
Yeah.
So it became kind of a school-wide project with kids voting and stuff, so it was just.
Oh, fun. Did I hear you say leopard is a neutral?
Yes.
Yes,
What
I
a-
didn't
I
know
Clarification on that.
Yeah, for the record, I was not aware of that, but yeah.
It can go with black or brown.
And blues and pinks and purples and reds. And
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
I think it's just very encouraging and impressive that our teachers feel empowered to pursue their dreams and their ideas, you know, to improve the students' experience, try new things. And all of the teachers that presented tonight, you know, were stepping out on new ground and looking at new innovative ways to educate our children. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that we have the resources as well. you know,
Right,
to,
right. That's,
you know,
that's
give me your
critical.
ideas and let's make it happen. So
So are you going to do men's shoes next?
you never know what next year brings.
Ben's looking for a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, I noticed your Nikes over there.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to another topic that we've talked a lot about this school year, and our student board members have done a great job of keeping the board up to date on this. Now it's time for the staff to give a little perspective on the implementation of the new cell phone policy. So I don't know who's up first, but we have a whole team here this evening. Yeah.
I don't know where, is it here?
Yep. All right, cool.
I'm D'Angelo Gerald. I'm one of the deans over at Downers Grove South.
I'm Tim Tilton. I'm one of the deans over at Downers Grove North.
I'm Alexis Stamina. I'm a math teacher at South.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Bianchi. I'm a special services teacher over at North.
So just this first slide just gives you just a quick summary of what our updated policy looks like. Students are expected, we all have the best that I could describe it as slotted slots in the classroom for students to leave their electronic devices. Each staff member has been explained to that we would like all students to utilize those slots just so that they could store their phones during classes. Then after class, they can go retrieve it. We started this process on the first day of school. It's really, really been impactful. Our whole purpose is trying to limit the number of distractions within the classroom setting. So eliminating cell phones from that has slowly been beneficial. So we're hoping that it continues. If you go to the next slide, you'll see just information on where our numbers look right now in comparison to last year. Last year, through the month of October, we had only 39 referrals across both schools. You see that number, and then you see the other number where it says 339 referrals this year. We don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. Last year, we had a policy where teachers really had autonomy in regards to how they did their cell phone policy. Some had it just where it's away. Some people had a specific area where you put cell phones. So it was all very different, especially how the teachers responded to it. Some would just give prompts, hey, put that away, no write-up ever coming. Some would write you up on the first time they seen it. It was just, I guess, different across each teacher. Now with a district-wide policy, it's very uniform in regards to how we're handling it at both schools, which hence the increase in the number of referrals. We don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, more so as we are currently going through a transition in regards to how we're viewing cell phones within the classroom environment. So seeing that significant number, we're also seeing that a number of those are first-time offenders, and then we don't see them again, which is also a good thing, meaning the conversations and consequences that we're utilizing are actually working. In other instances as well, it's also providing a very clear-cut process in regards to how it goes. Teacher sees phone, teacher talks to student about the phone, teacher reaches out to parents to let them know that they saw the phone, and then we obviously engage the student as well as the parents in regards to the consequences from the dean's side. It just makes it so that everybody is on the same page in regards to not only what our policy is, but how we're implementing it, and then the process along the way is all uniform for all students. Therefore, there's no confusion as to, oh, this dean does this or this dean does that. Nope, it's the same across the board. Provides a little bit more clarity, less questions as well. If you click to the next slide, it's just like, yeah. So I guess some of the takeaways that we see is, like I said, we're not necessarily seeing the increase in number of referrals as a bad thing, more so as a good thing as far as how our district is managing the policy. It seems like everybody is being consistent with it, and obviously as that number continues to grow, we see that we have to shift certain things or send out reminders to families or whatever it may be. It allows us to view that data and then work with it as we go on. The other piece is like I said, this is the first full year. We're going through a transition period in regards to cell phones. So unfortunately, it might look a little bad initially, but in hopes this will continue throughout the school year and into next year where we have less violations because now it's just the norm. It's nothing new. So we're hoping that that continues. The next steps we'd like to see from the dean's office is just reinforcing consistency, making sure all teachers are utilizing that in every classroom. That way there's less discrepancies in regards to how students view the policy. And we also want to definitely lean into just ongoing cultural adjustments. If we're seeing that cell phone violations are popping a little bit more frequently, have some discussions with families, send out the reminders and things of that nature. And if we're seeing that we're doing a great job, keep doing what we're doing, obviously. So yeah, that's what we would like to see from the dean's perspective. In regards to teachers, I'll let them touch base on what they see within the class.
Can you go to the next one, please?
So I will give you some background for my class as well. So I teach 2 sections of Math 1S, which is predominantly freshmen, sophomores, and then I have college algebra, which is mostly seniors with some juniors. So I've kind of seen the implementation of this across the grade levels. Another thing is that I have a lot of my former Math 1 kids in my college algebra. So I kind of have seen them now 4 years later. A little mad that I changed this on them at first, but it really didn't take long. Now it's very habitual. They know, scan in, put it back in their cubbies. To what D'Angelo said, like in our math rooms, we have them back a lot of times by the scanner, so it's usually just scan in, put it away. You know, and I've found too, a lot of times when students forget, I don't see it, you know, under a table. I don't even see it out. They just forgot it in a backpack. So it's not something that they're trying to hide anymore either, that they're on it. It's simply forgotten, which speaks a lot to how much they're not on the phones anymore. This has been such a great change. I mean, a big part of my classroom is that the social piece has to be just as important as the academic. Seeing them actually talk to one another in group work, they are so engaged. Class time, I mean, I'm happily exhausted at the end of the day. They're so intrigued with questions. They're wanting to ask us things. They're wanting to be with their partners. It's just a very big change overall. I've seen a really big change in our scores as well. Our first 3-unit test, I saw like a 5 to 10% increase in their grades. I know there's several factors we could talk about with attendance and phones, but I really do believe the engagement would match that. It's consistent in both classes. My seniors talk more, they're engaged with each other, but even with myself, I've noticed they're willing to ask a lot more questions out loud or with me. So it's a very big piece. And something that I added on the next steps was I've noticed that this is the first class that is used to this. So my freshmen, this is the only rule they've known. And so my older kids, you know, it took a little bit of time, but they didn't fight back. So I'm really excited to see if we keep implementing it, how it would continue for after class of 2029.
So I have a very unique role at North. I keep a lot of my students for 4 years. I also am granted the opportunity to go and attend other teachers' classrooms. So I'm seeing this through all grade levels in all departments, so I have a very unique lens in that piece. I'm also a PBIS coordinator at North and a member of our Children Leadership Council team. One of the things that we've implemented this year through PBIS is adding a whole class nomination to recognize, so it's no longer individuals. Teachers can recognize whole classes for things such as following the cell phone policy, scanning in, being more engaged in class. And so I want to read a couple quotes from the teachers because I think it's very important. Common trends were that they're arriving before the bell and scanning in on time. They're placing phones in pockets without prompting, and they're staying focused and collaborative throughout the lessons. Some direct quotes are, this group shows up ready to learn every day, or they've built a routine that makes learning smoother and more connected. I believe that building consistency, right, takes time. It takes buy-in from the students. Teaching those routines is very important. I want to thank the board and administration for not only hearing what teachers have said, but supporting us through that process. And I think the big increase in referrals that we're seeing is because teachers do feel supported and valued, and that we have the same shared vision for our students. One of the things I tell my students all the time is one of the best abilities that you can have is availability, and students are more available to learn. They are more present. They are more willing to engage. I teach a social thinking curriculum as well with my students because they have social communication needs, and this has been a huge help with that piece. I do have students that use the Notability app that was up there before, so we do talk about responsible use of technology, which I also appreciate. In the policy it says, you know, according to teacher discretion as well, because part of my job is teaching them when they leave high school how to use those accommodations in the real world as well. So collaborating with our occupational therapists and our social workers and our speech pathologists, we use certain apps, whether it's on their personal devices. Some students do bring in their iPads so that we can help them transition from high school to life beyond. So learning responsible use of personal devices, and we've had no issues with that. As always, right, kids are going to push the envelope, but staying consistent and reviewing those expectations has been really wonderful and valuable to see, and this has been something that we've talked about at Trojan Leadership Council for the past few years, and to see it come through, I have nothing but great, fabulous things to say. I brag to all of my teacher friends about how wonderful the change has been, so thank you very much, and we truly appreciate it.
I think it's also important to note that the messaging that started even over the summer at both schools, throughout the district and at both schools, to parents, to students, on, you know, like I said, before school started, once school started, they were, you know, I had students going, yeah, I know, no cell phones. They had already heard it many, many times. Some didn't fully believe that, and that's evidenced there by 339. But again, it also speaks to this is a transition phase that they for a very long time have gotten used to certain ways, and now it's time to change for the better. And sometimes that has some growing pains, right? So we do appreciate the support that the district had put forward on this initiative from the very beginning too. It made our jobs much easier to roll out actually once school started. So, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I'm glad it's working out well for everyone because I know it was something that teachers were asking for a while. On the dean side of things, because of that increase in referrals, are you seeing more challenges with issuing consequences for those referrals in a timely manner? Is there, does it become like too much of a task to take on? Is there a little burnout from that at all?
The short version of it is no. Like I feel like a combination of everything, maybe. Like if you start to take into effect all of our referrals, attendance, things like that, maybe then. But strictly with cell phones, I feel like those are honestly pretty easy because it's okay. Teacher saw you with your cell phone out. Where's your cell phone supposed to be? It's supposed to be away, or it's supposed to be in the pocket. All right, so were you seen with it out? Yeah, super quick. Is like as deep as the conversations can go as far as like, hey, you know, this can impact your learning and things like that. Students are truly like owning up to it. Like, I know it's supposed to be away. I'm sorry. It was just a quick text message. I know it's wrong. I got you. It won't happen again. And so far, what we're seeing is that it won't happen again. With some students, obviously, we know there'll be repeat offenders, but for the most part, processing them is going pretty quickly just because, like, it's a pretty clear-cut rule. You can't have your cell phone out in the class. So if it's seen, there's no really denying it. So, yeah, it makes it very clear. So it's no backup on it.
Okay.
I would agree with that. Additionally, too, we're getting a ton of parent support when it's time to call home and go, hey, this happened. And most of the parents have heard from the teacher already. Going back to, is it manageable? Yes, it is right now. In fact, a lot of times we're able to get to the cell phone referral that day, maybe the next day at the latest, but the teacher reaches out right away. But parents, very, very little, pushback, a lot of support. They're seeing the need for student focus also. And I would say, too, in a lot of my conversations, I think a lot of the students are seeing the exact same thing. They may not come up here and say that in front of this, but maybe some will. They're seeing, they're seeing all the rest of their friends not being able to be on the phones, too, and so that helps the lack of FOMO that's out there that, I got to get back right away, because no, you can't get back right away. 5-minute passing periods, lunchtime, after school, that's when you can expect to hear back from your friends or to reply back. And so it's still a slow process, but I believe it is definitely, working in the right. Again, not perfect. There's still some growing pains, but it is by and far a good thing so far.
Thank you, parents. Like, for real, big time. Thank you, parents.
Thank you guys for coming and presenting. I mean, this is just fantastic feedback. And nobody is better equipped to give us the feedback but you. And I really think that high number is due to students being students. They're going to test the boundaries and push it, see if they can push the envelope. Once they find out the envelope is a brick wall, they will stop and get in line. Number one. Number two, parent support. That is so good to hear, because it's all about, the parents and the students, and if the parents are supporting it, it really makes it successful. And so I'm really happy to see that our parents are communicating their support to it. And lastly, it really helps our teachers develop the critical communication and interpersonal skills which we need to have these young people develop. And with the pandemic, we have a lot of people who are behind the curve, And this is one step to help erase that and, really get the interpersonal skills where they need to be for them to be successful as they move forward in life. So thank you guys. Keep up the fantastic work, and it's awesome.
Our number one priority this year was focusing on absenteeism. And along with that, we changed our cell phone policy. We implemented Infinite Campus and the scanning. All of those things are focused on accountability and holding our students accountable for their actions and their behaviors in the classroom. And I'm just really excited to hear all of this feedback from you specifically about how it's having a real impact in the classroom. Not only for the students' engagement in the classroom, but also just from a teacher's ability to teach. I'm really excited to see how our focus is going to have an impact on test scores and overall success of our student experiences. So I'm really happy, and I know I heard it a couple of times tonight from all of you about you thanking the board and the administrative team for listening, but there's as much thanks that needs to go your direction. When we surveyed the administrative team, the board, and the staff, we were all on the same page about we need to hold our students accountable. And we needed to take measures to take back control of the classroom. And all of us collaboratively worked together to determine that this was our number one priority. And I think it's working. It's only been a few months, but I think we see a lot of positivity here. And I can already see it in the morale of our teachers and staff as well. And I can hear it in the feedback we're hearing from our students. I'm really, really happy with that priority and the way it's being carried out by all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next topic is school report card. This is the first of probably a couple of presentations. Tonight, Gina's going to give you the overview of the school report card that was released last week.
As Dr. Thiele said, we will talk about the school report card at least twice. Sometimes it will even go into further discussions as the year goes on. School report card came out last Thursday, and every year the state puts out a school report card that gives a lot of information about schools, and not just test scores, not just student performance, not just about absenteeism, but across the board in terms of talking about students, teachers, finances, everything you can think of. Tonight is going to be very much a higher level look at it. We'll talk a little bit about our summative designation. Individual schools are given a summative designation. It's like a rating. The district is not. So we'll look at that for each of our campuses. We'll also talk about graduation rates and talk a little bit about what those look like at the different intervals. As you know, last year was the first year that we moved back to the ACT as the grade 11 assessment. So we'll look a little bit at just some very high level averages of scores on that. As already mentioned, attendance is a major focus for us this year. Chronic absenteeism, we'll talk about what chronic absenteeism is and what our rates look like relative to that, and then also our daily attendance rates. As we look tonight and in future presentations at the school report card, it's always a year in the rear. So we're looking at data from last year, not from this year, because of course, the state needs time to collect it over the course of the year, calculate the data, and then they publish it every year right around, usually the day before, but right around Halloween. So those are the key areas we'll look at. The first one I mentioned is the summative designation. That's like a rating. So they basically look at schools and they decide what category or what designation the school gets. Again, there's no summative designation for the district, just for individual schools. There's basically 5 ratings, and the highest is exemplary. The next one is commendable, which is the largest group by far.
the largest group of schools fall in that commendable range. And to be commendable, you, and the definition obviously is there, but you cannot have any underperforming subgroups. You need to have a graduation rate that's at least 67%, which ours is clearly above that. But you're not necessarily in that top 10%. And we have been commendable every year with the exception of the years where the designation carried over, which technically we were still commendable because it carried over. But also during the pandemic, there wasn't an assigned designation in 2021. So for the years in which there was an assigned designation, we've been commendable. One of the newer aspects of the report card that I absolutely love is, and I think this is the second or third year, I can't remember, the second year, they put together the schoolhouse. And I like the schoolhouse because it's just a nice visual of our scores, how we rate on each area, and how each indicator weights. So when we're talking about high schools, and we're talking about that summative designation, half of that is determined by graduation rate. So as you can see on the schoolhouse, and this is obviously North High's schoolhouse, 50% graduation rate, and North High, with their graduation rate, which we will look at in a few slides, they earned all the points for that. So 50%, they earned all 50%. And so you can look at each category to see how that rating was determined and what weights are there. So for example, ELA proficiency, which is determined through the ACT, math proficiency also determined through the ACT, 7.5% of the rating on both of those. And then you can see ninth grade on track, which is something we'll talk about in the next presentation. And then science proficiency is factored in, climate survey, chronic absenteeism, which we'll look a little bit at tonight. And then the other one is EL progress to proficiency. And that's really a growth measure looking at a small subset of the population of a school and how they're growing over the years, with the expectation that students will enter an EL program and exit via an access test score within 5 years. So that's what that EL progress to proficiency is looking at. At the top, or towards the top of the schoolhouse, I should say, you see the overall index score for North High was 87.41. And that's taking all those factors into consideration. This is just a visual representation for all students, and I think that's really important to point out, because you can also, if you go into the website, look at it for different groups of students and for different years. So this is obviously last year, as I said. That score of 87.41 puts North right there, approaching exemplary, but not quite there. To be exemplary, 92.95. You might say, well, that's not 10%, and it's not, but several schools will rate the same way. There's multiple ties as you go through. Switching over to South High, obviously this is the schoolhouse for South High. Obviously, it's going to be measuring all of the same factors we just looked at very briefly. South High's all students index score was 83.51, which again is exemplary. And you can see.
Commendable.
Sorry?
Commendable.
Oh, commendable. Thank you. As you can see here in this display, where South rates and where the commendable starts, which is probably why I was jumping ahead a couple of sentences, I apologize, but 92.95. So graduation rates. Each year, when we look at graduation rates, we look at the 4, 5, and 6 year, and each one of those does factor in, with the largest one factoring in at the 4-year rate. Because the goal, of course, is for students to graduate high school in 4 years. So the 50% of that rating, the bulk of that, the majority of that, is the 4-year graduation rate. This displays the 4-year graduation rate, and we also look at the 5-year average. So last year, you can see we're District 99, and now what we're going to look at from this point on is all going to be district, okay? District 99 at 91.6%, where the state was at 89%. You can see our 5-year average at 92.8%, the state's average being a little bit lower than the average this year. You will note that 21 was coming out, or really during the pandemic. So graduation rate district-wide went down just a little bit last year. The 5-year graduation rate, as you can see here, was also down a little bit from the previous year and also down a little bit from the average. But as we continue, one thing, I should say up a little bit, one thing I want to point out, which is really important, and I know Dr. Thiele mentioned this several times over the last year or so, is the state for the first time this year removed from the data those students who typically go on to our T99 program. The only way a student can be in our T99, a transitional program, they still have to be enrolled in the district, right? So if a student graduates, they can't be enrolled in T99. And so you'll notice some of these figures being a little bit different, particularly seeing it at the 5 and 6 year rating. And you can tell there where that difference lies. Even though the difference might be very small, like 1-2%, it's not a huge group of our population, it does make a difference. And so, and that really was, I believe, based on input from the superintendents, that the state changed the way they started to look at the graduation rate, and that's reflected in the data that I'm showing you, really last year's data, and will be reflected moving forward. So I think the 5 and 6 year is where you really see it the most.
Are you saying by keeping our students within T99, we're having a lower graduation rate?
We were.
We were.
We no longer are, because those students are factored out. So they're not even considered when they're calculating the rating anymore.
Post when? Like starting this year?
Yeah, starting
Yes.
this year.
But
Well,
but not
starting-
affected, we're not seeing it in these numbers.
You are, because
You
you're
are?
seeing it in the 2025
In
number
the 2025, okay.
So it's this year's report card, but it's always a year in the rear, right? So that's where it becomes kind of confusing. We'll see it again a year from now with the 2026 report.
So the numbers you're comparing are the 93.4 in 2024 and the 94.5. That's the improvement you're referring to?
And you'll see it in all three, but you'll see that it
Okay.
comes out higher in the 5 year and the 6 year.
I see, okay, thank you.
So this is the 5 year, obviously. And then the 6 year, you see 93.6, which actually was down a little bit, even though the numbers, it eliminated those transitional students, but pretty close to the 5 year average. And our graduation rate pretty much stays strong, particularly with really all three rates, but you see this particularly with the 5 and 6 year rate as well. But that was a change from previous years that started in 2025 and will continue. So ACT rates, also, as I mentioned earlier, we're back to taking the ACT, which we had when we had the Prairie State. That was day one. And then we moved to the College Board assessments. Now we're back to ACT. Last year, grade 11 students, juniors, took the ACT, which is a graduation requirement. When we look here, you can see that we looked at specifically at ELA and math. And it's very difficult to look at comparative data because this is the first year of this test, but we, in comparison to the state, you can see did substantially better than the state average. We will at the next presentation look a little bit more as we look at other districts and how our rates look. And this just kind of shows that in a different format, comparing what the state now has 2 levels, proficient and not proficient. And the standards have changed in terms of the degree of proficiency. And so this really is kind of a new start for all schools.
Was there more levels before than 2?
There were, and they state what they called right-sized standards because our standards were higher than what was considered college and career ready. So even though we're talking about a different test, right, when we're talking about the SAT, what we were expecting students to get to meet standards was higher than what research shows students need to be successful as freshmen in college. And so the state did a lot of work with input from educators and resized or refactored. They looked at it, they took in a lot of advice, a lot of comments, did all kinds of work to resize it, and came away with the new standard, which is timely because obviously, new test.
Gina,
Oh,
just, can you
sorry,
stay on that
hang on.
slide for a
Go back.
second? Just
Yes.
members of the public, you know, who might look at that and say, well, only 2/3 of our students in D99 are proficient in math. So does that mean that 1/3 of our students are failing and just behind in math? I mean, I've heard that from members of the public in the past, and I'd like just a quick explanation as to what it means to be proficient and how to interpret that.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're failing in math. They may be doing well in math classes, but based on this score on this test on one day. This is not a growth measure. This is one day, one test. There are other ways that students, even in the report card, which if we were to go in every aspect of the report card, we'd have a presentation at every board meeting for the rest of the school year. But even in the report card, it looks at other ways to look at math. For example, like we have a transition math program, our PQL, Prep for Quantitative Literacy. That's a transition math program where our students who are successful automatically go into, if they go into the community college system, and even in some four-year, right into credit-bearing courses. So there's other ways to show proficiency. This is one way. Also, when you look at the college and career readiness indicators that the state looks at, one of the factors that they look at is GPA. So there's multiple measures for determining whether or not students are performing. This is one measure. So daily attendance rates, since we are focusing this year, I thought it would be really important to kind of show what our attendance rates look like. Daily attendance is different than chronic absenteeism. We very oftentimes and will look at chronic absenteeism, which is a federal definition. Daily attendance is basically your percentage of students that you have in school on a regular basis, right? And it's a percent of your overall students. So as you can see, our numbers remain pretty consistent from year to year, with our average over the last 5 years being 93.2%. Last year, or in 2025, I should say, was down just a tad from the previous year. Chronic absenteeism, we have presented to the board for many years now. Chronic absenteeism is actually defined through federal law. It is also part of the state's ESSA plan, which is one of those multiple measures. Remember when I showed the schoolhouse, right? That was one of the measures, was chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism means that a student has missed 10% of the school year. Excused or unexcused. There are very few absences that do not count, very few. And those would be, for example, if a student is hospitalized for whatever reason, but is receiving education at the facility, right? It could be a medical situation, for example. That doesn't count because the student's in school. It's just a different type of educational experience. But if a student goes on a college visit, if a student is ill, goes to the orthodontist, those kinds of things all count, even though they may be excused absences. So if a student misses 10% of the days, and a day can be a quarter day here, a half a day here, a period here, 5 periods there. So it's that summative, right, that accumulated amount. It also can be students, and this is often something that is hard to explain, but we have students who sometimes will join us, let's say, mid-year, right? So they enter November 1st, let's say. And in the previous district, maybe they missed a lot of school. And maybe for us, they only missed a couple of days. But it looks at that student over the course of the entire year, and that student can count for both schools. So the school that they came from, right, before November 1st in this example, and then our school that they transferred to. And so sometimes when you think about it in that way, and we pull all kinds of data throughout the year, and we have, you know, you look at students and you're like, how is this student chronically absent? Only missed a couple of days.
Because at the end, state reporting falls out of my office. We pull reports to look at every student that was chronically absent. One, to ensure the data is accurate, but two, to try and understand the larger
So they
picture.
don't discount if you moved here, they count, they don't, that's crazy.
No. And actually, there's a lot of parts of the report, not a lot, there are
Yeah, there's
several, I
several,
should say. Parts of the report card that are like that. For example, I briefly mentioned when we were looking at the schoolhouse that EL progress to proficiency. You might say, well, 5 years, well, we're going to do great. We only have 4 years of students, right? But it counts if that student spent 4 years in the elementary school district or schools, it could be multiple schools even, it still counts for us too. So it's 5 years for the student, not necessarily 5 years.
Oh, I see.
For District 99. So there's several parts of the report card that are like that.
What about those
where
5 mental health days? Are they still in there too?
They count.
And they still count?
And I can say from my communication in several of the groups that I'm in, we have communicated that concern to the state. I believe, and Dr. Thiele can speak more to that obviously than I can, but I believe superintendents have also communicated that concern.
Very much so.
One of the things that the state did change, I want to say 2 years ago, was that we have to record mental health days separately. So there's a special code we have to record separately. So the state can get a picture, right? They can pull data on how many students are taking mental health days and what's the average number and those kinds of metrics. Of course, my hope is that someday, because they have that data, they'll be able to filter out or will at least allow that. But again, and that's really why I started this by saying it is a federal definition. And those mental health days were granted or are granted through the state. So the state is required to follow the federal definition for chronic absenteeism.
Is that 10% of the chronic absenteeism 10% of the whole year, or is it up until that point in the year?
It's the whole year because we only look at data at the end of the year,
Okay.
right? So this is all of the 24-25 school year.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, there are certain times that, like summer school, things of that nature that won't necessarily count. It's those school year days that count. So yes, mental health days count. The only one I can think of off the top of my head that does not count is when educational services are being provided, but in an alternate type setting. So like the example, if a student is hospitalized, wouldn't count against, but there's very few codes with the state that do not count towards chronic absenteeism. Now, if a student, let's say if a student is outplaced for some reason, is one of our students, but attends a different school, they're receiving educational services, but if they're absent from that school, it's going to count, obviously. So looking very quickly at our chronic absenteeism, you can see that for last year as a district, we were at 23.7%, which again is a little bit higher than last year, but if you look a couple years ago, we seem to be falling back to where we were roughly in 2022. And this is a problem for many schools, and we'll look a little bit more and can look at more comparative data, but this is a focus for District 99, but also a focus in many districts across, certainly across DuPage County, and I would say across the state, if not nation. Any other questions? Again, I'll be coming back next time. I think that's on the 17th. We'll talk about, for example, ninth grade on track, which is something we always present about. That's freshmen who have met certain criteria. We'll also look at some of the other indicators and some comparative data relative to our scores.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you.
All right, next one is Ken's.
Okay, we have the ISAB meeting coming up, and we'll be voting on one resolution. Hopefully, you all have had a chance to look at it, and as well as some 10 constitutional amendments. The one thing I wanted to highlight was the one resolution, which is pretty much a no-brainer. It's school bus safety funding. Based on the 2025 enactment of Senate Bill 191, it requires all school buses to include lap and shoulder belts. But there was no state appropriation added to make sure that this happens in all districts. So the resolution is providing a variety of funding options, including a grant, so that we can make sure that all the districts have an opportunity to comply with this. So as D99, I would think we overwhelmingly would want to adopt that resolution and would vote accordingly. The 10 constitutional amendments, 8 of them are rewrites of membership and resolution articles. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them. The only 2 of real interest is one which is increasing the elected officers, the president, vice president term from 1 year to 2 years, which I think is excellent because it may take a year to really get your feet under you and get, into the flow and then be yanked right out. So that's pretty much a no-brainer. And the other is giving authority to the ISB Board of Directors to make decisions in case of an emergency. So if the governor or the president calls a state of emergency like the pandemic, they have the opportunity to vote and make changes and adjust accordingly, which is a good thing in today's world. And it's being proactive, and it's taking something positive out of the pandemic and moving forward so we're better prepared in the future to ensure that all of the students in the state of Illinois can continue as seamlessly as possible. So what we want to do is make sure that we're all in agreement on that, and at the meeting I will vote do adopt for all of these, and if we could take a poll vote, all that in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All that oppose say nay. We're done.
All right, you have your marching orders.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to item number 5, the reception of visitors. This is an opportunity for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes to provide all visitors an equal opportunity to address the board. Individuals needing more time should submit their thoughts in writing to the board's secretary. Visitors addressing the board need to submit a comment slip to the board's secretary and will be invited to the microphone. Prior to addressing the board, audience members should state their full name. The proceedings may be tape recorded for the purposes of producing accurate meeting minutes. The board's presiding officer reserves the right to modify these protocols if circumstances warrant. Audience observation of these protocols is greatly appreciated. Julie, do we have any slips? Yep.
One slip for Bobby Zato.
Okay.
Yes, thanks for the time. Last time we were here, I had an opportunity to speak, and we heard today so much good that's happening with the staff, but I'm here to point out the evil. As we know from last year's rape arrest, evil does happen, so when you see something, say something, and that's what I'm doing here. One of the topics, I'm glad we had the cell phone audit. Oh, my name is Bobby Zato. I apologize, didn't state that clearly. Thank you. We had the cell phone report from the staff. Last meeting, it was noted that from some student advocates that some teachers are not requiring students to put away the cell phones. And I did write to superintendent, and I commented on that. I was really hoping someone was going to ask, what is a repercussion of a staff member that does not enact that policy? Because as we heard, that is happening. So also, I talk about inappropriate books that are given to students. Last meeting and before I shared images from those books, the board shared with me that the images from the books are so vulgar, pornographic, and offensive that they don't feel safe. Adult school board members do not feel safe looking at the images in these books. How can staff and principals allow the students to get the books when adults don't feel safe? If adults don't feel safe, I mean, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like to show those images. I didn't like to read what I read. I don't want those given to students. So they should not be given to students. And per Secretary of Education of Illinois, the principal does have the power to say, hey, this is pornographic, and we are going to remove this. Students aren't going to be allowed to have it. Superintendent, thank you for sharing the library link with me. But that book that I read was pulled from another library, meaning it's not archived in Downers Grove South Library. So that's what library staff can do. They can go and they can pull all different kind of books. And my question remains, what other books are they giving kids? Other types of pornographic, bestiality? I mean, where do we draw the limit? That's very important. And finally, another very uncomfortable topic for me to talk about is girls' dress code. This morning, every day I drop off my child and I see how girls are dressed. Today there were 4 young women wearing opaque tights. You could see their buttocks and vaginal area. A leader said it very good. Kids push the envelope. It's the responsibility of staff and leadership to make sure to say, hey, girls need to wear pants. A requirement, oh, you cannot have underwear lines, so the girls would just stop wearing underwears. Can I have extra minutes? Oh, okay. Thank you very much for all your time and attention.
As a reminder to the board, I communicate back on the district's behalf to any communications that we receive from the community. At no point did I communicate on the district's behalf or on your behalf that any of you were uncomfortable, nor was it with any presentation done at the last board meeting, nor was it shared with me from any of you that you were uncomfortable with any presentation made at the last board meeting. The board protocols and policies are always followed for materials that are placed in our libraries. The process for challenging those materials have been shared with Ms. Zato. So all of our board policies, all state laws are followed within our school district as expected by the board. So thank you.
Thanks, Hank. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Chris moves, Ken seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
everybody. Thank you for your service, board members.